Welcome back to the pod. Today we have Fresno State men's basketball coach Tyler Johnson. Thanks for joining us.
No, thank you for having me.
So tell me about your childhood. When was the first time you picked up a basketball? What are your good memories, bad memories?
Well, allegedly, my first words were shoot the ball.
Really?
And in that order. It was a combination.
Okay.
I didn't start with one word. But, I think ever since since I can remember, truthfully, I was always just drawn to basketball. Obviously, I think everybody plays, most sports when they're growing up, but I always was drawn to the game of basketball. And, as I started to grow up, really started to watch a lot of Kobe, really started to watch a lot of the Lakers. I think that was the team that, made the biggest impression on me as a young kid. And, I think I just kind of fell in love with the game by being around it.
Originally from the Midwest, what brought you to Fresno?
That's funny. Okay, I was born in North Dakota.
Oh, okay, we don't claim it. We're just born there.
I represent, got a lot of love for North Dakota. Okay, I was born there. My mom was finishing up college, was in the military, and so I was around 2, and then we actually moved to Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
And so growing up, I actually grew up probably until 5th grade. Was in Spokane, so played a lot of Hoop Fest. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 3-on-3 tournament. It's one of the biggest 3-on-3 tournaments in the country. So, every summer I was looking forward to playing there. Actually, early on, I'm sorry to admit it, I did have dreams of playing for the Zags when I was growing up, considering it was right there. But then my mom got relocated, again, military, got relocated to Mountain View, and, never left Cali after that.
And what about Fresno State made you want to play here?
It was close, and at that time, one of the former assistants, who's now a high school coach, Sin-Q Carey, was recruiting me really, really tough, and I actually went to school with his nephew, and so we were really close and played on the basketball team together, so I just had spent a lot of time around it, and, they got in early with the recruiting process, and then, it's just good to go to a place where you feel wanted. And so I feel like I heard from them the most, and it really came down to Fresno State and Utah State, and I was happy. Even though Utah State won the league that first year, I was happy with my choice, and obviously, I was able to accomplish some great things here at Fresno State and move on. But I love the Valley, and that's why I'm back now.
Amen, and I'm glad you mentioned two things there, Sin-Q Carey and Utah State. Because my favorite play of yours your freshman year was against Utah State, and I was thinking about Sin-Q when we were getting ready for this, because I remember him coming to me and saying, wait till you see this guy Tyler Johnson. This guy's got potential off the charts. And then I saw you. I was like, Sin-Q, this guy's like 6'1", 150 pounds. You're saying this guy's going to be a big-time basketball player? Just watch. And I was thinking about that. The Tyler Johnson story doesn't happen in 2026 because you don't get a scholarship.
Right.
Because they're taking a transfer portal guy.
Yeah.
Right? So you were here for all those years. We got to see you grow up, fill out. I mean, you could jump when you were 150 pounds, and you could still jump with, where you are now. But I want to take you back a little bit. When did you ever see being left-handed as an advantage or a disadvantage, or how has that fit into your consciousness this whole time? Because there aren't a whole lot of left-handed shooters in college or pro hoops.
It is funny. It really shouldn't be an advantage, but I think because like you said, there's not as many, everything's just backwards. So for us, we just move a very specific way. And I always thought lefties had they were just a little more herky-jerky as opposed to a little more flow. Like even if you watch Manu, he was very smooth. But other than James Harden, James got some sauce to his game. But for most other guys, they just have weird movements, And I thought that was an advantage for me. But I think lefties, when they go left, they kind of stay going left all the time. Whereas I think when you're a right-handed player, you can learn to use your left hand. But I feel like lefties stick to that left side more. At least it did for me. If you cut me off left, I was going to go around you left, or I'll try to.
Well, we saw that, and you got pretty good at it. And you got better with your right hand, too. And the one thing I mentioned, I mean, your leaping ability, I'm always curious about that because that's not a gift I was given. And I imagine what it would be like if we could jump like you. How old were you when you realized that you could jump higher than the average human?
It actually took a while. My older brother, who never played sports, well, I won't say never, he did track. he had he had a time that qualified him for state in track, and he actually forewent that to meet me in St. Louis, the school play. So he wasn't an athlete. He just chose other things. But he was actually a crazy athlete. In 8th grade, he could dunk.
Oh, wow.
And but just never was passionate about basketball. And I was always looking up to him because it kind of took me a little bit. I don't know if it was because I went through puberty late or what, but it took me a little while. And then probably my sophomore year, high school, there was a definite switch where I went from just being kind of like an average jumper or average athlete to, more explosive than maybe just the typical 15-year-old.
And Taylor, I know you got more questions for him, but to finish the thought about my favorite play his freshman year, you call plays and you get excited, but sometimes there's a play that makes your jaw drop because a guy does something that people aren't supposed to do. And I'm pretty sure it was against Utah State his freshman year where he got in the game and he's on the perimeter, he's playing the two-guard spot, and somebody misses a shot and he crashes the offensive glass from like the top of the key. And I got this microphone in my way. He's left-handed. But he's up above the rim. The ball bounces off the rim, and he catches it like back here. And the ball's like all the way fully extended behind him. But he's in the air long enough and high enough that he just windmills that over the top in one motion with a putback dunk. And you don't see anybody doing that in college basketball, let alone a guy who's 6'1". So I think the whole arena was like, what in the world just happened? Do you remember that any differently than I do?
I'm going to take your word for it, and you can narrate my life anytime if you want. If they ever came out with something, I'm going to take your word for it. Because normally I think in those moments you kind of just black out and you don't realize what just happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was lucky. I had a couple good moments that I can go back and show my kids. That's all I have now is YouTube. Just go back and try and show my kids like, hey, I could still do it. Or I could do it back then. So. No, I remember there was a couple specific ones that really stood out. The one Colorado State was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of your most memorable games in a Bulldog uniform?
In a Bulldog uniform, you know what? We had a great run my senior year. That kind of started the foundation for some of those younger guys who came in and won that Mountain West Championship in, was it 2016?
Yep.
2016?
Yep.
Where we won a couple close games in the CBI, and that was kind of the first postseason basketball I got to play here in Fresno, going to the CBI championship, which doesn't seem like much, right? But it was, for me, I never got to go to the tournament. I missed out on that experience, and my brother Logan reminds me all the time because he has 3 conference championships, and so he rubs it in quite a bit. But that postseason and getting an opportunity to actually play for something, obviously you Mountain West tournament, you're playing for the Mountain West Championship, but that just gave us another opportunity to play for a trophy, for some hardware, and so I remember those games, pretty fondly, and then I remember we had a big turnaround again my senior year. I think we started off league 1-6 or 1-7 or something like that, and turned around. I think we finished 7-1 or 6-2, something like that. So yeah, I remember more the people than I do the games, I'd say.
Talk to us about your journey going undrafted.
Yeah, going undrafted, it was probably, for me, the best thing that could have happened. One, you get humbled a little bit. Not to say that I was out here thinking I was going to get drafted, but, it just kind of puts into perspective maybe where people view you, and during that time, it gave me the freedom to be able to select what workouts I was going to and ultimately select what summer league team I got to play for. And so, I was lucky that, Miami had offered me an opportunity to go play in the summer league. But that situation was a good situation coming in after LeBron left. There was just a need for another shooting guard. on that roster. And, that's one of the benefits of going undrafted. Sometimes if you're a first-round pick or even a late second-round pick, you're kind of stuck in the situation that you're in. And, having the flexibility I think it expedited my process of being able to jump right in and potentially fill a need for an organization. And that's how it came into fruition. Obviously, it wasn't, that seamless, but that's pretty much how things came into fruition, being undrafted.
So I just see a parallel, a little bit of Fresno State, grit, prides himself on being the underdog, and a little bit with your career. How do you think playing at Fresno State and the culture here kind of helped you through that journey?
Well, I mean, commentated for a long time. You've been around, you went to Fresno State. I think that's just something, I think we all kind of come from that underdog mentality. Like we're all trying to come up and prove something. And, for whatever reason, Fresno State has kind of had that underdog mentality. I would love to see Fresno State be the top contenders. And, I think we're headed in the right direction to be able to do that. But there's something about when people doubt you, or maybe it's not even if they doubt you, but they don't even recognize your ability to where you can work in silence and you can kind of just sneak up on people. Because the work's the same, and then once you get in those lines, if I've worked harder than you and I've built enough confidence, it doesn't matter what you were picked, it doesn't matter what you were rated, and that's a conversation I like to have with the guys here, is that people they get all this NIL, they get all this recognition, but inside those lines you're all the same. So your confidence comes from your work and what you put into it.
And we saw you model that, and your coach here, Rodney Terry, used to talk about that all the time, about how hard you worked, and I think he called you a self-made player, right? He'd say that all the time. Self-made guy. RT's doing some
down there. I think he got the accent down. I like it.
He's doing some commentary now, by the way.
Yep.
There's so many questions I have to ask you. One, when you were talking about your favorite dunks, you mentioned Colorado State, but I was thinking about the time that took my breath away, and I don't know if you remember this, Taylor. You might have been in school at the time, so I think it was Nevada. Because I think of, speaking of Bulldog legends, the late, great Dutch Warmerdam, greatest pole vaulter of all time, told me one time that getting up was never the hardest part, it was landing. And Tyler would be so high in the air and up there so long, sometimes the landings got crazy. And you extended for that dunk against Nevada, and then came down.
Overtime, yeah.
Oh, and I think the whole arena held their breath, because that was a scary moment
that was
when
in
you came
Nevada.
down.
That was my freshman year.
How scary was that for you? Because I know that was scary for all of us, the way you landed and how potentially harmful that could have been.
You know what? I don't think that my mom had hit me so hard as a kid in the head that I don't think it even bothered me all that much. I think as I got older, it actually, I had several more of those incidents, losing all my teeth and everything. I think in the moment it was scary, but I think shout out to Mom for prepping me for all those moments.
You brought up the teeth. My buddy Dr. X, who fixed you up. That's his test case for, hey, this is what we're capable of. Did you know that, Taylor? How bad of a mouth injury he had?
I would love to hear the story, though.
It was ugly. Former Bulldog, Ned Golubovich, came back. He had just graduated, but he was still in town. We didn't have enough, so after Terry took over, we were short on bodies. And, it wasn't just like the transfer portal where you could just go in and grab, 10 guys, right off the bat. You had to go through the process of recruiting and building these relationships with people. And once he originally got here, there was a few guys who were dismissed from the team early on, and so we didn't have a lot of bodies. So Ned stayed, mind you. He's like 6'4". What, he had to be like 225.
I think we listed him at 6'8", but that was a little exaggerated. Yeah.
Was he 6'8"?
But he had elbows.
Oh, he was strong. That Eastern European strong, no excuses type guy. Yeah. And I dove for a loose ball, falls on the back of my head, and I didn't brace myself because I wasn't ready, and so all my teeth went and broke into the court. And I had to have major dental surgery, so shout out Doc X for getting me back right.
And we never know looking at you now.
No, that's what I'm saying. Shout out. It could have been ugly.
And Taylor brought up your toughness, and that your determination, I think, is such a great example for the guys in the program now. And I see you working with them, and I see the connection. But you mentioned your mom, and you knew that we were going to ask you about her. I mean, here you play at a very high level, play in the NBA. Your younger brother wins 3 conference championships at St. Mary's, playing professionally overseas now. I don't think that happens by accident. And I know Logan followed your example to a great degree and really looked like you on the court too, by the way, just his game. But how would you explain to us the influence or example or impact that your mom has had on your career in basketball and who you are today?
No, you know what? We were talking about it the other day, and I love her dearly. She was raised. She has 5 of her own, but she's raised countless others. But again, what I learned from her the most, I mean, she was 34 years in the military, in the U.S. Air Force. One thing I learned from her was just there is no excuse. You either do it or you don't, and you don't get to quit. So if we started something, we had to see it through. So when I was younger, coming up, if I said, hey, I want to try cross country, well, you're finishing the season in cross country, and you're going to try to be your best at it. So she's going to find somebody for you to run with on the weekend, and you're not just going to get through it. You're going to try your best at it. And that, I guess, that thinking of there's no way out except for through it, really, without it, I don't think I became what I became as far as a basketball player. Because times get difficult, and we all have times of uncertainty, and that's not even just in basketball, that's in life. Mm-hmm. We have times where it seems like the moment's too big, I can't get through this, or this is too heavy for me to carry. But instead of wilting under the pressure, or instead of falling down, you can lean on others, and it's good to have support of other people, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to be the one to get up. So that was something I learned from her, and I can't thank her enough for establishing that mentality, because it transcends basketball, transcends sports. It's more of a life skill.
Amen.
What was your I made it moment in the NBA? Maybe someone you were guarding, or someone you became teammates with, or what was that moment?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, my locker was next to D Wade.
Okay.
And Goran Dragic.
Uh-huh.
So right off the bat, I'm like starstruck, going into the locker room. But I think my first one was we played the Spurs. The first game I played in the preseason was against the Spurs. And I checked in at the same time as Manu. And being a lefty, you have certain guys that people tell you, oh, you move like this person, you move like this person. So mine comparison was always Manu. Mm-hmm. They tried to say James. I don't think I played a lot like James, but I felt like Manu Ginobili modeled my game, or I modeled his game the most. And so when he got on the court, I froze for a second, because I'm like, wow, this is incredible, I'm guarding Manu. And by the time I snapped out of it, he had already back cut and scored. So, that was it was short-lived, but that was like one where I was truly starstruck. And then the second one, I missed him playing on the court with him. But Kobe, when we were playing in Miami, was sitting. Obviously, he was out, but he was on the bench that game. And I just remember the dude's aura was incredible. But every time I'd make a play or I'd make a shot, I'd always kind of peek over there to see if was he watching, or did he see that, or did he give any reaction? Because that was just another person that there's nothing you could tell me negative about Kobe. There was that was who I strived to be like, just not from how he played, but his mentality. And so that was another one where I was real starstruck.
Out of all the cities you lived in your professional career, what was your favorite?
Ooh. I think this is an easy one. Right. It was Miami.
Okay.
I spent the most time there, too, though. So I think I built more relationships, more of a foundation there. Yeah. It's not all parties, all right? There is a very quiet side to Miami, and you can find your niche, you can find your little market that you like, and that was a place that I, even to this day when I go back, I always feel welcome, and You know, I was 22 years old, you know, when I started playing. So I kind of grew up when I was there. I left when I was 27, 28. So I think I was just a little bit more of a man in that time period. So I have really fond memories of living in Miami. But I mean, Phoenix it's not that bad. You know, pretty cool place. And then Brooklyn, another great place.
You had some good stops.
Yeah, definitely. So I think Miami is more because I spent the most time there.
I thought he was going to say Sioux Falls, South Dakota myself.
Shout out Sioux Falls, though. Shout out Sioux Falls. The
that's where it
Costco
started,
there,
right?
unbelievable.
The what there?
Costco and Walmart spent the most time. Well, where else? I mean, where else are we going?
Shout out Costco.
We
it was unbelievable.
Costco, unbelievable hospitality through the
Free
roof.
samples were off the hook. Hey, so you just said, you know, Miami, Phoenix, all these big cities, but you're not in any of those places. You're here. What was the motivation for you? Because people can Google how much money you made in the NBA. They know you don't need to be working as a college basketball assistant coach. So there has to be a why in there for you. What was the motivation to say, you know what, I'm going back to my alma mater. I want to help these young people?
Well, I think there's multiple answers to that. I think the easiest one was being retired, being a man and being self-reflective. I could still be playing. And, I think for one reason or another, I kind of let go of that version of myself. But one thing I really missed was the camaraderie that comes with basketball. Traveling, being in the locker room, having moments, seeing like the little victories, people getting progressively better. Those are the things I missed from myself. And then, so coming back, after being 2 years retired, I loved spending time with my kids. I loved being at home. But at the end of the day, I'm a competitor. And I feel like I needed it probably more for mental health purposes than anything, just to be around the game people say how lucky, the team is or the guys are to be able to learn from Tyler Johnson. I'm just as lucky to be able to have these guys because one, they're going to continue to keep me young. And, two, there's a lot of these guys who are diamonds in the rough, and I identify with that. Mm-hmm. I feel that. That's a story that I'm familiar with. And so that process of going through that, of being able to have these young guys ask questions or bounce ideas off of me or be able to work in the gym and work on specific things that are going to translate or make you better because I've seen the process and know how it works. Not to say that I know everything, but I know the process. It's very rewarding. And I gotta say that, with these guys, I'll say it's probably just as rewarding as being a player, if not more, because, again, you learn it. I've learned a ton about myself. I've learned a ton about being a parent. I've learned and the patience that it takes to work with young men who come from all different backgrounds. But I'm excited to do it, and it's good to feel excited about something. And so, yeah, I don't know if I answered your question completely, but coming back initially was just because I love the game and I want to see Fresno State do well. And this is where I came from. It's where I allowed, my dreams came true. And now that I'm here, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, this is exactly what I was supposed to be doing. There was a reason.
Kind of sounds like he wants to do it for a long time.
Hopefully.
We'll see.
Who are some coaches that had a big impact on you or you've maybe helped influence your coaching style?
That's a great question. Here, Rodney Terry is, I talked about how much my mom made me into a competitor, but Rodney Terry was another one. Really challenged me because I was at a crossroads in my life where it's easy to kind of like go hang out instead of going to the gym or to, drift off and go this way or to make this poor decision. But he held me accountable to a level that no one up to that point other than, we all, our parents are going to hold us accountable no matter what. But to have like an outside influence of somebody who really, really held me accountable for my actions. I have to say that, I commend him. I didn't, at the time, I even told, we've talked about it later, like, I was like, I didn't really like you that much when I was playing. But now that we were removed, I was like, man, I respect you so much more, even being a man and seeing the why behind, some of the reasoning as to why he was the way he was. I got a shout out to, my high school coach, Mike Motil. He was another huge influence on my life. I won't say he didn't. He definitely held me accountable, but he also, he made sure I was good. Coming from a family where my dad's gone and my mom is overseas, kept me within the lanes. Didn't let me get too far outside one way or the other. And then I got to say, Eric Spoelstra was a huge influence. Again, being 22, impressionable, and going into a crazy environment like the NBA, the lifestyle, all the things that come with it. He made it about the work. And him being young, he always had so much energy. And so he would challenge you in ways that, you don't know at the time, right? Because you're a young kid and you're in it. But realizing that without those challenges, you actually, you just get way worse really quickly if you don't have somebody who's continually challenging you, and then hopefully you learn how to challenge yourself.
You've brought up your kids a couple times, so how has being a dad influenced you as a coach?
Patience.
Patience.
Yeah, there's a lot of times you want to pick your kid up and shake them, but we take a second and we give them a hug instead. That's probably the biggest one. I got to say there's not a better feeling, than coming home after a long day and, your kids don't really care what you've been through. They don't care what's going on outside. They don't care how stressed you are. All they know is dad's home, and I'll never forget, those feelings of being able to be stressed out, and then I come home and it's like, oh, what, life's not all that bad. Yeah. Things are actually puts into perspective what's really important. And, we've talked a lot about the game, but that's what it is. It is a game, and it's something we get to do. But there's plenty of people out there who lead successful lives without it. It's just but it for some people it's a little bit more, but being a dad, I'd say, was the first thing that I felt like I could put above basketball.
And you mentioned Coach Spoelstra, and clearly you showed him something that he could believe in, because you're coming from the G League, but you started earning playing time. You had some games where you took over, and you earned a lot of trust with him, and he believed in you. And I see how you believe in the guys on this year's team. You're working out with them, not just in practice, but one-on-one sometimes. I see you coaching them skills like you talked about, the finer points of the game, but also I see you coaching them here, the mindset, the mental side of the game. So you probably have perspective on this year's team that we wouldn't have. You talked about your senior year when you guys had a bad start in league and then you turned it around. What do you see in these guys that tells you that turnaround could be coming for this year's squad?
I mean, we've dropped a couple close ones, and sometimes it takes, especially with a new group, it takes a second for you to learn how to win. And you put yourself in position. You go through the scouting report. You for the majority of the game, obviously you follow these specific rules, but then there comes a time where it's just winning time, and obviously the scouting report still matters, but it's about making a play, and somewhere. It could be a rebound. It could be a block out. It could be diving on the floor. It could be making a shot. Those moments matter. And so especially with young guys, trying to get them to understand how much that matters and how much and why, sometimes people get so frustrated as far as a coaching staff because just like you thought that was just an offensive rebound, but really it was a chance to seal the game. That's not going to make it. That's not the reason we lost. But in the terms of you're trying to, it's winning time, getting them to understand that urgency, it takes it. It just, some you learn and it's trial by fire. You're not innately born with it. You have to go through it. You have to learn it. Like if you remember Kobe in the playoffs, airballed 3 times. Mm-hmm. It's trial by fire, and nobody's above it. So within the close games that we've played, the response has been fantastic amongst the guys. Mm-hmm. And so I feel confident as we progress and, games get tougher and more meaningful that they'll be more ready for that moment. Moments, hopefully.
Moments. So Tyler, you are retired, but I did hear that you played in a manager game.
I did play in one manager game.
No,
That's
I'm not.
not fair.
So for anybody who doesn't
roll the clip.
For anybody who doesn't know, the night before college basketball games, the managers play. The game before the game. So the team managers go and play. Tyler Johnson played in one. How unfair. I need you to paint the scene.
I wasn't even the leading scorer.
Really?
Elijah, shout out to my guy E. Hill, was the leading scorer. I was trying to be a little more of a Draymond role, and I was trying to get that triple double. Close, okay. Very close. But yeah, we ended up getting the win. We almost scored 100. I was really proud of our guys, the way they fought. And I wish some more of the guys were there to see the commitment to running the floor and boxing out, and how much more it means.
And sometimes the guys are there. They're on the sideline.
There was three of our guys went. Stick went, Doug went, and Deshaun Gorey, he went.
And Taylor, you're laughing, but some of these managers' teams take it so seriously. There's actually national top 25 rankings for the manager teams.
Manager games.
And last year I did play when we upset Wyoming.
You played in the manager game?
There you go.
I still play a few times.
I heard that was a good feud with Wyoming. I heard that was
it got a little chippy, and Wyoming was ranked in the national top 25.
Really?
And we beat them at altitude.
Still having upsets. Come on now. Still having upsets. Did Jaron hit a game winner in that one?
He sure did, yeah. From last year's staff, Jaron Harris, nice little pull-up J.
Okay.
See, they tell stories about this. It lives on.
There's a wide array of talent, and it's all about team basketball, and that's why he wasn't the leading scorer. He had to facilitate for Elijah, who can still score.
Are you playing in any more? You
know what? I am. I can't reveal which ones just yet.
Don't give them a scouting report.
No, I can't. I gotta lure them into a false sense of security, and then that's when you get good. Are you coming to any of the manager games? Because I saw Holly there. Holly was there, and she.
You're right.
Without her, I don't think our spirits would have been up.
Okay, you're right. I do think we need to have some media coverage.
Just a little bit.
On the manager games.
Just a little segment. So, get P on the radio.
Okay, yeah, we need to. Because the people need to watch this.
For sure. For sure. Okay, so we'll do this. We'll coordinate it. It's coming, okay? Be patient.
Although there may be a petition to ban Tyler Johnson from the manager games.
No. We are going to bring attention, and we are going to shine a light to manager games and how important they are to college basketball.
Let me just say, Taylor, forget the manager games. If he played in one of the Bulldog games right now in the Mountain West, he'd be the conference player of the year. I'm not kidding.
I'd play old man game. I'd have to.
See, that's it.
I'd have to. I don't think I have the conditioning anymore.
But there's so much of it is here. He knows how to compensate for a guy who's younger and can jump higher with all the other things. And I see some of that rubbing off onto this year's team, and it's fun to watch.
He always talks me up. He's just a good
It's
guy.
true, man.
You know what I mean?
It's
he
true.
always talks me up.
Yeah. All right. Before I get to some fun questions, Paul, do you have anything else?
For Tyler?
Yeah.
I have so many things, but you said that you can identify with the diamonds in the rough because that's what you were. So you've probably been asked this before. What do you think made the biggest difference? Because there's hundreds of guys who wanted to do what you did, and maybe 5 of them did. Maybe you're the only one, right? You beat some significant odds to have the career that you had. So what do you think was the most powerful or influential element of your journey that defined it for you?
I just don't think I ever thought there was a plan B.
Wow.
I don't ever remember saying that I was going to go do something else. It was there was only one goal, and it was just I'm navigating through the process of figuring it out. But it was never the discouragement of I'm not going to live that dream. And it wasn't, obviously I knew like I could possibly play in Europe or whatever, but it was always from the time I was a kid I spoke it. And it was like I said, it's the only thing I ever wanted to be. I do have a specific memory, a little bit of a vulnerable memory. Played UNLV my freshman year, first game of league. I was in and out of the lineup because I had broke my toe early in the season, and I had a bad sprained ankle. So I missed probably more than half of the preseason. And I come back and we play UNLV, and I had 4 points, and we lose, and it was a home game. And my mom had brought a bunch of people to the game, and I couldn't bear to see them. I couldn't bear to see anybody. I just had, something I grew out of, but I always felt like when I was a good basketball player, I was a good person. When I was a bad basketball player, I was a bad person. I left the gym. I left out the back, and I walked to North Gym, and I set up the gun, and right after the game, and I shot so much that my whole body went into a cramp. So I couldn't get up off the floor. So then I remember crying on the North Gym floor because it was the first time I questioned, am I going to be what I thought I was? And so I had a choice, I think, at that point. I was like, am I gonna find a way through this? You know what I mean? Or am I kidding myself? And that moment sticks out specifically. And again, there's a level of vulnerability when I'm telling it. I could, sitting and crying on the floor somewhere. But it was because it actually meant that much.
Wow.
It meant that much to go through that process. So as far as something that stuck out to me, it was, again, trial by fire, going through it, having failures, and understanding that failures are super important. Sometimes we're so scared to fail we don't try. And so if it's always better to feel like, oh, well, if I would have just applied myself, then I would have been. And it's always good to have that in the back of your head. Well, that's what I feel like. That's what people are okay with because then you can say, maybe. You still hold on to that maybe, as opposed to if you try your best and you fail, and then you have to live with the certainty of knowing you tried your best. But that, I think there's a freedom in trying your best and knowing that I really, really did everything I could to live this out. And somewhere along the lines, even maybe if it's not in that avenue, you find out something about yourself that'll carry on into another avenue of life. Yeah. So,
all in.
All in. Just be all in. Just try.
Impactful.
Some good stuff here, Taylor.
Yeah. I'm glad you're coaching our boys, Tyler. But okay, fun questions in terms of the team. Okay, who makes you laugh the most?
That's a good question. They all make me laugh because they're all just still very immature. I don't know. The person I probably laugh the most. I spend a lot of time with DG, and he's a character. He's young, but he's fearless, and he's I don't know. His confidence in the way he presents itself is always, it's not that it's funny, it's that funny moments come out of, even when he, shoots an air ball, anything, he could turn the ball over. His self-talk always makes me laugh because it's always positive, it's always lifting himself back up. And so I always appreciate it, and there's moments in there that I find really funny. All the foreigners are funny in their own way. Because it's just coming from a different culture. Yeah. So, whether it's the way they pronounce certain things or try to get, certain sentences out in a game or whatever, or just their sense of humor because they come from a completely different culture. I always enjoy it. But, I'd say individually, I think all of those guys are in their own way pretty funny. And I have a good relationship, I think, with each one of them and individually.
Okay, who talks the most trash?
Oh, that's a good question.
Besides Elijah Hill?
E-Hill's up there. E-Hill's up there. But E-Hill backs it up. That's the thing.
There you go. Yeah.
E-Hill backs it up. Stick does it quietly. He's
Okay.
not as like demonstrative, but he'll do it. He'll do it quietly. I think McCon sometimes gets pretty competitive in practice, and he'll do it. Zion, obviously, Zion's probably product number one as far as that goes. DG's definitely up there. We've had to rein him in just a little bit, but nothing crazy. But because it's always him hyping himself up, which is great. But we've had to rein him in a little bit, and then as far as the best one, I don't know if any of them are that good at it yet.
Okay.
They're still learning.
They're not at
and they don't
NBA
get
level.
to they don't get to talk trash to me. They could try. They don't get to. I got a couple aces in my back pocket that I get to drop down, a couple jewels.
Well, and I have to ask him the follow-up question, Taylor,
Okay.
because, trash talk in college is one thing, but trash talk in the league is a whole different
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a funny story or two from either things you said or were said to you, or guys that didn't back it up or made you laugh. You got a good trash talk story or two from your years in the NBA?
I don't know if I can think of one off the top of my head.
Maybe you can't share them either, I guess.
There's always a couple of those, but I don't know if there's any that I can think of off the top of my head. But I'd always get a lot of weird conversation starters when I was missing my front tooth.
Yeah.
So when I was missing my front tooth, I think there was a lot of conversations that surrounded that. Nothing. I wouldn't say there was anything like super significant that I would say stood out, but I would say that there's some good ones out there, and probably most of them are fans. I'd say the fans, especially you
They
get
can
to
be
like
brutal.
Salt Lake City and places like that, they're pretty brutal.
Okay, 3-on-3 tournament. Let's go managers and then also guys on the team. Okay, let's do managers first. If you had to pick two managers to play in a 3-on-3 tournament with you, who are they?
Wow.
That's a great question. Just my starting three?
Well, it's you and then two people.
Oh, me and two people. Okay. E-Hill,
Okay.
100%. Okay, well, here we go. So the twins are pretty good. Okay, they're interchangeable. They're still young, little erratic. So I don't know. I'd maybe Gage.
Nate's going to hit those corner threes if you create space for him.
Nate has a very specific niche. Nate's very good with with five on the court. Nate holds it down because sometimes you'll just forget about him and he's knocking them down. You know what I mean? But as far in threes, everybody's got to be involved. So if we're not all involved, we're screwed. Are you considered? Are you in this? Because I'll tell you,
he can be in it. Anybody who has played in a manager game can be considered.
He hasn't played this year though. We don't know if he still can play. All we hear is about the church league. I hear murmurs. I hear rumors. I hear about the church
In the
league.
manager game
I'm
streets,
tapped
he
into the
hears-
underground basketball world of Fresno. So if he can play, he's in.
Okay. And then players on the team.
See,
Wow. They're all watching this,
Yeah,
too.
I know. See,
But 3-on-3 is, that's your out right there. 3-on-3 is a specialized version.
And it's not all
Right.
about talent. You have to be able to work with, their skill sets have to work with yours.
I'm taking Will.
Okay.
I'm taking Will.
You have to.
And then, babe, you know what? I'm gonna keep it European, and I'm gonna go Bass. I'm gonna go Bass. I'm gonna go Will, and myself.
Okay.
We probably play more ones than anybody as far as that group together. So I'm just going off of that, and then Bass, he loves to pass, so I know I'm gonna get my shots up. And then big fella, he just holds down the paint. That's what you need sometimes as an anchor.
That's fair.
And I think what I hear you're saying too is you're going the crafty approach, right?
For
It's
sure.
not just pure athleticism. It's the little things that can create an advantage that maybe nobody sees.
You need a dog. And that's not leaving anybody out because I love my guy Zay, but I'm going back because also the French connection, you know what I mean? And so I think probably more of our team meetings would be learning phrases in French so that way we could throw a little confusion. But yeah.
Okay, last question. You love fashion. Who on the team would you trust to pick out your wardrobe? You can have no input. They get to give you a whole wardrobe.
No input? Like I don't get
no
to...
input, and you have to wear the wardrobe, let's say for 6 months. Who?
Oh, a whole, not a fit.
No.
Ooh.
A wardrobe.
Damn.
Who are you trusting?
What a question.
That was a wonderful question. I don't know.
You have to pick somebody.
I got to pick somebody. Okay. Actually, you know, I don't know if I like if I would rock his style, but you know who will sneaky come in with some things is Gasper.
Holly can attest to this. When they came into their podcast, he came in a pea coat, like a whole outfit, and he wore that to class.
He's sneaky. No, he's sneaky. I don't know. He came in today. He wasn't feeling the best, but instead of a mask, he had a scarf and he had his hood, and I was like, that's a little kind of swaggy the way he pulled that off. So, I think if I had to, seeing everybody's style, I'd probably say G.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, well, there we go. He's gonna love to hear that.
No, he did. Like he does it. He earned it. He earned it.
Love to hear that. All right, Tyler. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all having me.
And we'll see you next time on the pod.